habitual as if they're natural. Natural means it's of our nature. It's what would happen without our interference. Normal means it's what we've learned or been conditioned to do and think. And because well-being is natural, resilience is natural, confidence is natural, creativity is natural, hope is natural. So many of the things we work in the self-help industry to create are already there. And the only reason we aren't experiencing them more of the time is because we're up in our heads trying to create them.
Yeah.
You know, I used to say to my clients, wouldn't it be a shame to have a wonderful life and not notice? Because that's what I see so many of us have.
Right.
We have wonderful lives and we're not noticing them because we're on to the next goal, the next project, the next thing we've got to fix. And I'm not saying don't make the world a better place, don't create in the world. I'm all about that. But it's not because you need to be okay. It's not because you need to be happy. And in fact, happiness leads to success a hell of a lot more often than success leads to happiness. You only have to hang out in Hollywood for a week to see that.
Yeah, of course, because again, that's, you know, it's the inside out piece that it's an inside job first, right?
Well, it is, but it's not even a job.
Okay, right.
Right,
Yes.
It's just actually that's how it works. Our nature, underneath all of the ideas, right? Like this is how I think about it. We were born happy, right? Babies don't need therapy, right? So that piece of us, that's the learned bit. We learn to be unhappy. We learn all the reasons we should be unhappy.
Right.
We learn all the different ways to be unhappy, and it doesn't feel like thinking. It feels like, no, well, this is true, but it looks true because that's how thought works. Whatever the thinker thinks, the prover proves. Whatever we hold in thought, consciousness, like a special effects department in a movie, brings to life. And so it really does look true. It really does feel true. It really does feel like the sky is falling and the world is coming to an end and there's a time bomb ticking away if we don't change this, sort this out, or get to this goal. But actually, well, here's actually a way of doing it. Of talking about it. So I have for now over 20 years offered all of my clients a money-back guarantee under one very specific set of circumstances, which is if their head explodes, I will give them their money back. And the reason that I offer that is because of the number of times somebody will say to me, oh, God, when I even think about doing that, it feels like my head's going to explode. Well, here's the thing. It won't.
Right.
That's not what heads do. But it really does feel like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Oh. So I want to move the conversation a little bit here into meditation, the space of meditation versus the act of meditating, because I've also heard you talk about meditating without meditation.
Probably meditation without meditating, but it's the same. But here's this was another one where I went, oh my God.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that emperor's naked too?
Right.
There is a space. I talk about it as the space within, or home in my books. Sid Banks, one of my mentors, talked about it as pure consciousness uncontaminated by our personal thinking. But it is a space of infinite depth, infinite quiet, infinite capacity, infinite potential. It is our true nature. It is a space of meditation in the sense of meditation as stillness. Now, one of the ways throughout history that people have reliably accessed that space is through meditating, is through various types of meditation, repeating a mantra, holding the body still, focusing on breath, etc., etc., etc. Now, there also simultaneous to that have been traditions. Tibetan Buddhism is one of the ones I know the most about, Dzogchen, where their practice, and I'm using air quotes, which is always a great thing to do on a radio
It's
interview.
awesome to do on audio.
But I just thought I'd flag that. Can't help myself. I'm also 6'2", blonde, and devastatingly handsome. Just in case you're trying to picture me at home, people. But they have a concept they call undistracted non-meditation.
Undistracted non-meditation. Okay.
And what it points to is that the nature of the mind is quiet. When it's not distracted, when it's not hyper-focused on any given thing, it simply is a space through which thought flows. When you start to see that that's the nature of the mind, that's always present, that's where we return to anytime our thinking doesn't look so important that we have to pay attention to it, then you realize that meditation is natural. Being noisy in your head is what's artificial. Now here's the really cool thing. I used to always say, and I even say in my most recent book, The Space Within, that the less you have on your mind, the better life gets. The less you have on your mind, the higher your level of performance. The less you have on your mind, the more deeply you can connect with others. But that's only partly true. What I've seen is even more true than that, is that the less you care what you have on your mind, the better life gets. The less you care what you have on your mind, the higher your level of performance. So I always remember that my wife and I went to a restaurant in Malibu years ago, and there was a table next to us with two actress/models, as they call them in Hollywood, slashies,
Yes.
right? And they were having this, oh my God, my boyfriend, and this one girl was just going off, and it was so loud that we didn't even pretend to not listen.
Right.
And she, and he cheated on me, and he did this, and he, can you believe, and her friend was like remarkably unsympathetic. Clearly this was a regular story. Right, this was not something new.
Right.
And so the first girl finally built up to this crescendo, and she said, "Why do I keep meeting the wrong guys?" And her friend said, "The problem isn't that you keep meeting the wrong guys; it's that you keep dating them."
But yes, it's true.
Well, that's the thing.
It's true.
That's us in our heads. The problem
Yes.
isn't what we think; it's that we care what we think. It's that we think it's important what we
Right.
think.
Right.
And that's why when somebody starts to see the nature of thought, that thought is a transient energy. Thought is the creative force. It would be like if you didn't understand about the aurora borealis, and you looked up in the sky and you think, a message from the gods. And so you started studying the patterns in the aurora borealis to try and figure out what the message was. You could spend lifetimes doing that, and you could even come up with extraordinary theories that sometimes seem to work. Yet the truth is, the aurora borealis, it's a trick of the light. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful trick of the light. Well, that's thought.
This is interesting because, so I do have a meditation practice, and I did a 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat in Thailand at a monastery. And that's what sort of kicked off my consistent meditation practice. And one of the things that really stuck with me in the teaching there was to be with thought as if it was a sense. That thought is a sense. Thought is a sense like seeing or hearing or tasting or smelling or touching. And we willingly, or I would say we willfully allow all those other senses to move through us, and yet there's still this gripping that we relate to thought around.
Well, and I think for me the only difference between how thought looks to me and how I hear it described in many meditation traditions, and there are also many meditation traditions where if you look, that they're talking about the space.
Yeah.
That's what they're describing.
Yeah.
But I'm actually saying that's what thought really is. It's not like that. It is.
It is that.
That. And here's what's cool about our brains. This is what I do remember from my days of paying attention to neuroscience, is our brains are brilliant at filtering out noise. What they're not great at is deciding what's noise and what's signal.
Exactly. Yes.
And so when your brain starts to see, like genuinely see, in the way like seeing the shortcut, seeing that you're drinking arsenic, seeing that slamming your hand in the car door is not going to magically make pizza appear, right? That was a very arbitrary metaphor.
I liked it though. I'm rolling with you, Michael.
All right, thanks, man. But when you genuinely see that, then your brain just automatically starts filtering out all that thought. It stops. You don't even notice it. And even though it's technically in your consciousness, you're not conscious of it. In the same way as you're not conscious of all the background noise in the room you're in. Until we point it out. You're not conscious of the feeling in the big toe on your right foot. Until we point it out. You stop paying attention to all that thinking. And then it just kind of fades into the background, and you spend more and more of your time in natural meditation.
So let me ask you, because I think I'm just going to speak for people listening.
The voice of the people.
I'm the voice of the people. So, because I do think that this is sort of the big inquiry. How do we reach that place of the what can we say? The discernment of thought, or the not purchasing every thought, I've heard it referred to. How, and especially if it's our natural state to actually, to not be in grip of the thought, let's say. And yet we've moved into this different place of stress and anxiety and worry and all that other stuff. What would you say about the how?
If you go back to a place in you where you're open to the possibility that everything is up for grabs, there are no givens, you don't already know how it works, and you look for yourself, as you say, in inquiry, to see what is true beyond all the theories, you will see what you see. And in my experience, whenever somebody truly looks with open eyes towards truth, they see truth. And truth is impersonal. Truth is, it's like I always use gravity as an example, because gravity doesn't care if you believe in it or not. Right? It doesn't work like Wile E. Coyote in the cartoons where he only falls when he looks down. Gravity's always on. So there are principles of the mind, and one of them is that thought is always flowing through. Right? In fact, one of the ways they mark the difference between somebody who's alive and someone who's dead